Good morning, Neha, and welcome.
Hi, good morning.
Hi. So now that we have Neha here and Dr. Chaturvedi also here, Sakshi, can we start?
Sure, ma'am. A very good morning, everyone, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I, Sakshi Dwivedi, on behalf of Atal Incubation Center, BIMTECH, would like to thank you for your presence on this beautiful morning and in the inception of our first event of the year. I'm delighted to welcome Dr. Abha Rishi, CEO, Atal Incubation Center, BIMTECH, Dr. Harivansh Chaturvedi, Director, BIMTECH, Guest of Honor, Ms. Neha Nagpal, Senior Manager, Invest India, Mr. Rohit Gupta, Program Director, Atal Innovation Mission, and Mr. Chaitanya Suvanam, Managing Partner, IDFC First Bank, along with all the startups, entrepreneurs, investors, jury, academic and corporate partners, incubation partners, and dear students. It is our pleasure to welcome all our esteemed guests who have joined us today in Investor Summit Connect 2023. To unleash India's immense entrepreneurial potential through startup, the Atal Incubation Center BIMTECH initiated a national event Connect 2023. Not just to strengthen the existing relation with the ecosystem stakeholders, but has set out the mission to bring the promising startup in front of investors who are breaking boundaries and demonstrating an impressive level of success in the market. Atal Incubation Center BIMTECH, an initiative of Atal Innovation Mission Niti Aayog, has carved its place at national level among top incubators by helping hundreds of startups catalyze their ventures to the next level. Atal Incubation Center BIMTECH, with an inclusive, future-focused vision, has expanded its reach with more than 260 startups which have raised the funds of more than INR 500 million. The center also supports the startup with 147 corporate and academic partners and 54 mentors, nationally and internationally. Having a good idea and then knowing how to start is usually the toughest step to start a viable business. AIC BIMTECHs make it easy by providing assistance to startups to acquire the productive resources that catapult them to the next level. These efforts are made to encourage the entrepreneurial ecosystem and strengthen regional and national economic, which can be seen in the fact that incubatees of AIC BIMTECH has created around 3,800 jobs till date. I would again like to thank to take a moment and thanks and express my gratitude to all of you for joining us in celebrating this new opportunity and for cherishing our existing ties, which have always helped us push our existing boundaries. Your presence will give an edge to the validation of this two-day event, Connect 2023. Welcome to the showcase of the makers of New India. Welcome to the two-day National Investor Summit, Connect 2023, connecting entrepreneurs to the enablers. To start with the event, please allow me to introduce and welcome Dr. Abha Rishi. Dr. Abha Rishi is the CEO at Atal Incubation Center, BIMTECH, and the chairperson for the Center of Innovation and Entrepreneurship Development. She is a senior faculty with 27 years of experience in the field of entrepreneurship and international trade. She has 9 national and international awards to her name, with the latest one being the Global Women in Leadership Award 2021 by the Global Council for Promoting of International Trade. Now I would like to request Dr. Abha Rishi for the welcome note.
Thank you, Sakshi. A very good morning and a warm welcome to our honored guests. Neha is here. So Neha Nagpal from Invest India, Mr. Rohit Gupta Program Director at Atal Innovation Mission, Mr. Chaitanya Suvanam, who is the Managing Partner for the IDFC First Bank. They will be joining us shortly. My very special thanks to our speakers for kindly accepting our request to join us here today. I'm indeed grateful because I know that 2 out of the 3 speakers are deluged by the work for the inaugural event of Startup 20 under the G20, which has just happened in Hyderabad, and some of the events are still going on. So let me take this opportunity also to extend my most sincere thanks to all our guest invitees who will be joining us from various states and countries for the support and cooperation. So on this note, let me also introduce the theme for Connect 2023. These days, great business ideas can come from anywhere, but to encourage them, we need to increase the breadth and the depth of the entrepreneurial ecosystem by multiplying connections across entrepreneurs and mentors, improving access to capital through investor meets like what we have here today, and creating events and activities that activate all the participants in the startup ecosystem. Because at AIC BIMTECH, we believe that incubation is not just about supporting ideas and young businesses, but also about sustaining and improving lives that contribute to build the nation. Ours is one of the most ancient civilizations, but beyond that, we also wanted to be the torchbearer for the future. So here in Connect 2023, we have brought together people from the government setup, as you see the lineup today, from Invest India and also from the Atal Innovation Mission, the private players like IDFC First Bank and quite a few others, and a plethora of other ecosystem enablers. So if you have seen the list which is there, we have more than 50 investors who are going to be listening to the pitches by the selected startups. And these people will discuss the issues, concerns, and limitations and discover new synergies. That's what our hope is about. And in this 2 days of sessions, we hope that this objective will be given an actionable shape. As Sakshi has mentioned, in the 5 years of existence, AIC BIMTECH has interacted with more than 200,000, that's like 2 lakh potential entrepreneurs, sifted through more than 3,000 plus applications, and we have supported 262 incubatees. So those of you out there who are interested in starting your own ventures, make sure that you reach out to us, because one of the things that we are pretty proud about is that our incubatees have created more than 3,000 jobs and have won 25 awards and have raised 500 million in funding. So our action plan sees AIC BIMTECH as an important tool in the economic development of the area, as a means to create new job opportunities for the residents, create higher wage jobs. I mean, these are some things that the students out there would be interested to learn about. Ideally, when businesses graduate out from an incubator, they move out into the community and connect to the overall vitality, diversity, and growth of the area. And that's what we hope that we will be able to create. So the dream is big, and we welcome all who have the courage and the commitment to join us in this journey to really catalyze the ecosystem and create a new story. So with those words, I welcome you all again, and thank you, and over to you, Sakshi.
Thank you, ma'am, for your kind introduction. And now it is with pleasure that I introduce to you Dr. Chaturvedi, Director of Birla Institute of Management Technology. Dr. Chaturvedi has more than 45 years of experience in teaching, research, and academic administration. He has been director at All Indian Council of Technical Education and is on the board of governors of several prominent universities and higher education institutions in India. He has authored and edited 5 books relating to various challenges before Indian businesses, economy, and higher education. I now request Sir to please address our guests and say few words. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sakshi. Good morning and good afternoon to our speakers and audiences who have joined us today from India and various other countries. It is a glorious moment to extend my warm wishes on behalf of BIMTECH and AIC BIMTECH to all speakers and participants from different countries. Friends, today's virtual convention Connect 2023 has some special significance. G20 is right now one of the biggest group of 20 powerful nations. India has recently assumed the G20 presidency with effect from December 1st, 2022 from Indonesia, and will convene the G20 leadership summit for the first time in India in 2023. The Startup 20 engagement group, which has been constituted by G20, is a new group which has been proposed under India's presidency. It would recommend actions to the G20 leaders to address growth, challenges, and other constraints. Startups act as catalysts for economic growth and development. It's a worldwide trend. People look towards startups for resolving some of the biggest problems of the world. They offer platforms and tools to foster collaboration and spur innovation across borders and facilitate economies in achieving the SDG targets, especially goal number 5, which is to achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. In recent years, India has increasingly come to recognize the importance of empowering women and promoting gender equality in its growth story. In all national level planning and policies, now there is a focus how much gender equality these new policies and programs will facilitate. Despite the progress made towards achieving gender equity, significant gaps persist. At the current pace, the gender equality gap is not expected to completely close for over 135 years. We can't wait for 135 years for gender equality, a situation that has been exacerbated by the impacts of COVID-19 pandemic. COVID has further accentuated the gender inequality. With this backdrop, business and academia must move from just rhetoric and setting public commitments to taking actionable measures. BIMTECH is part of this global commitment that we have to take action, we have to proceed rather than making only promises and making commitments. It is the time to break out of business as usual to drive concrete action towards achieving gender equality. Since the underlying theme of this convention is about entrepreneurship, let me also say that although the Indian government is trying to do its part, however, the multitude of schemes and initiatives supporting entrepreneurship among women are primarily focused on hand-holding early stage development. The focus is on capacity building, mentoring, and small value collateral-free starting loans. Support for internationalization of Women-owned enterprises through targeted measures to boost women's participation in international trade has lagged. The recognition of the gender-specific impediments and vulnerabilities that women entrepreneurs face should be reflected in both the vision and the strategy. At any forum, be it G20, UNO, or any other forum. Secondly, there is need for a robust institutional setup underpinned by support programs and incentives, regular gender consultation, timely collection of gender disaggregated data, and impact assessment, with gender equality considerations gaining traction in bilateral and multilateral trade discussions and agreements. So now it's a global agenda that at all international consultations and organizations, we have to think about how to ensure gender equality within minimum possible time in the world. India should also include women entrepreneurs as important stakeholders in domestic consultations on free trade agreements, and their aspirations and concerns should be reflected in the final text through gender responsive provisions. Change is happening, but we need to really keep pace with the dynamic entrepreneurial environment. With these words, I look forward to hearing from all of the speakers in the inaugural session. Atal Innovation Mission, Invest India, and IDFC First Bank, who is also steadily creating an impact in the entrepreneurial ecosystem. Thank you, and I wish successful deliberations today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for the kind words. Today, we are privileged and honored to welcome Senior Manager, Invest India, Ms. Neha Nagpal, as our guest of honor. Ms. Neha Nagpal currently leads Ministry's engagement, investor facilitation, and multilateral linkages in Startup India, Invest India. She has been working at the intersection of innovation, strategy, and policy making for the Government of India with hands-on exposure to key national and global stakeholders for more than 5 years. In Invest India, she has spearheaded innovation-based initiatives in central ministries, PSU, Indian Mission Abroad, and various multilateral organizations. The screen is all yours, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Sakshi, and welcome everybody to Connect 2023. And thanks to the AIC BIMTECH team for organizing this wonderful initiative and this wonderful summit, and also inviting us to it. I think as Dr. Chaturvedi and Ms. Abha also mentioned, I think gone are the days when government used to be away from innovation in a certain way and only focused on the developmental aspects. I think over the past few years, a very revolutionary shift has happened in terms of how the government of India sees startups and sees innovation, and the kind of support system overall has been provided to the startup ecosystem. And I have a very short presentation to tell you all about a little bit about what we at Startup India have been doing for the past few years on the startup ecosystem. Let me just pull that up. I hope my screen is visible. So,
Yes, ma'am, it is visible.
Yeah, so I think this entire journey started in 2016 when Honorable Prime Minister of India launched Startup India Initiative and Startup India Action Plan on 16 January, which is more than 7 years from today. We've just completed our 7 years. And it was across 3 broad pillars of support to startup ecosystem. And these are the most basic, but also the most important things that a startup needs when they're starting their journey. One of them being simplification and hand-holding, wherein just to start up and just to initiate a business and just to register a business, what all does a startup need? What kind of support do they need in terms of legal aspects, in terms of compliances? This is where we do a lot of work. Along with that, I think, as I mentioned before as well, funding is one of the most important things, which any startup needs when they're starting out, and especially when they're not mature enough to go to a VC or a PE fund. This is where they come to the government, and this is where it is our duty to sort of support them. And I think along with that, a very important aspect is industry academia partnership and incubation, something which AIC BIMTECH has also been doing so well over the past few years, wherein there needs to be a strong bridge between the kind of innovations which are happening in the institutes of the country, what the students are doing, and actually get them commercialized and to the industry. And I think over the past 7 years, while working closely with incubators like yours, accelerators, corporate partners, in fact, governments of states, Indian missions abroad, this is the kind of impact that has happened in the startup ecosystem. As you can see on your screen, today we have more than 89,000 startups in India itself, and these are all government recognized startups. And these are spread across 660 districts over more than, so we have one startup in almost every district of the country and every state and union territory of the country. Out of 36 states and UTs, 31 states and UTs have a startup policy, which means there is an inclination to do work towards startups, and there is a formal mechanism to do the same. And the less I say about it, the more is the number of unicorns. I think all of us know over the past 2 years, especially, we've seen a certain revolution and a certain stream of unicorns flowing into Indian ecosystem. Today, we have 108 unicorns, and the funding in the ecosystem is also significantly increased the past few years. And this is not just domestic funding, it is also funding globally from global stakeholders. And these startups are not just job seekers, they're job creators. They've created more than 9 lakh jobs in the country. And over the past few years, we have done multiple things, including the biggest, I would say, a virtual incubation center, which is a Startup India portal, which has more than 5.8 lakh registered users. We have specific schemes for startups as well. If you're an early stage startup, we have seed fund scheme, which is relevant for startups within 2 years of incorporation. And if you're a late stage startup, we also have fund of fund scheme, which is implemented by SIDBI. And we have more than 78 investors under that scheme, which are ready to fund the startups. We also went across the country, and this is one of the most interesting things that we did, just to make sure that the innovations are not coming just from tier 2 and tier 3 tier 1 cities, but also from tier 2 and tier 3 cities. That's why we did something called Startup India Yatra, wherein we went to tier 2 cities, we went to tier 3 cities in a van, wherein we got innovation from the grassroots of the country, and we supported them and we helped them to understand what the government can do to help them. Along with that, we also help startups in terms of providing government market access to them, whether it's through the government, through ministries, which is what I closely work in, whether it's through international markets, whether it's through investors, whether it's through corporates. We have a touch point with every stakeholder so that they are very aware of what startups are doing. And as I mentioned, the most important part that the startups need is reforms at the regulatory setup. We have initiated 54 regulatory reforms to promote ease of doing business, to ease taxation laws, to raise capital, and to reduce compliance of the startups. And just a very, very important slide for everyone who's here is what exactly is a startup? So from a Government of India perspective, while a startup, of course, is a phase of any company. From the Government of India perspective, you are considered a startup if you are a private limited, limited liability, or a registered partnership. These are the three structure of entities which are considered a startup. You have to be 10 years from year of incorporation. So, of course, a young organization, and your revenue should not exceed 100 crores in any fiscal year. Again, we want to support innovations and companies which are still growing. This is why a revenue cap is there. And the most important part is an element of innovation, scalability, job creation, or wealth creation. This is what distinguishes any company, an MSME from a startup, which is a novelty, which is a USP, which you're doing, but nobody else is doing. So if you have these 4 things in yourself, you can come to our website, you can register as a startup, which gives you access to all of these things which Startup India works on. So we have support system to startups from ideation stage to validation, to early traction, to growth. And this includes, as I mentioned, funding. It includes hand-holding support. It includes pitching sessions. It includes government access programs, a lot of master classes and training programs. We also give pro bono services to our registered startups across cloud services, across legal services, financial services. We do a lot of mentorship programs. We right now launched something called Mark, which is a platform specifically for mentors and startups to connect. And at the end of it, if you're a growth stage startup, we connect you to VCs, accelerators. We have a National Startup Awards also, which recognizes all of these growth stage startups. So this is a plethora of services that we provide. And I think a testimony of this is also what Dr. Chaturvedi mentioned initially, is a Startup 20 engagement group that is being formed at G20. And the first inception meeting what happened in Hyderabad this weekend, which saw stakeholders from across the country and in fact across the world. More than 19 countries participated in this inception meeting. And over the next few months, the aim of this engagement group is also to support startups through multiple engagement areas to get the most important advices from global ecosystem stakeholders and national ecosystem stakeholders, and to promote and disseminate promotion, not just in India, but across all the G20 countries. So with that, I think, of course, you can reach us anywhere on the Startup India websites, our socials, and we also have a helpline wherever you want to reach out to us. But extremely happy to sort of be a part of this organization, be a part of this event, and we welcome all the startups to join us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for your remarks and insights on the journey of Startup India so far. Let me now introduce our next guest of honor, Program Director at Atal Innovation Mission, Mr. Rohit Gupta. Mr. Rohit Gupta is an alumnus of IIT Delhi and IIM Calcutta. He has worked across various sectors like FMCG, retail, real estate, e-commerce in India and abroad. Rohit is also a serial entrepreneur and has 2 successful exits out of his 3 startups in the last 7 years. He's currently serving as a program director for Atal Innovation Mission Niti Aayog and looks after the Atal Incubation Center programs. I now request Sir to deliver the address and share his views.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to congratulate AIC BIMTECH CEO, Dr. Abha Rishi, and his team for enabling such a vibrant ecosystem for entrepreneurs in the NCR region and creating a support system for all the entrepreneurs building innovative and disruptive, inclusive tech solutions for India's last mile. Not too long ago, I was sitting in your shoes in terms of all the startups who are attending this session. I'll quickly introduce Atal Innovation Mission and what exactly do we do here. So Atal Innovation Mission is a flagship initiative of Government of India under the auspices of Niti Aayog to create and promote an ecosystem of innovation and entrepreneurship through the length and breadth of the country. The idea was, can we create a system of innovation and entrepreneurship so that young talented minds of India will find an opportunity to express their creative potential, to express their entrepreneurial spirit, so that we become job creators and not just job seekers. Now, how do we ensure that our youthful, energetic workforce that is going to be made available to India is also able to express their full creative potential and become transformers of India? How do we ensure that we create Atmanirbhar Bharat to ensure that we not only become a strong, self-resilient India, but we also become a source of great capability and contribution to the rest of the world? In order to do that, we have to ensure that our young people are given all the opportunities and empower them to become innovators. to become job creators and not just job seekers, to become the transformers of our country. The Atal Innovation Mission is creating world-class incubators. World-class incubators will foster world-class startups. It is very important that a startup is supported in different elements of its life cycle. There are many valleys of death in a startup's life cycle. Valleys of death because they do not get the right type of support for mentoring or venture capital support or business planning or strategy support. Sometimes they don't get support to access the right technology lab, which needs to fill up some gaps in the startup solution, or sometimes they don't have access to the right team. An incubator helps address all these valleys of death and make the startup successful. And this is where AIC BIMTECH comes in. It's a shining example of how an academic incubator is supposed to behave in the current ecosystem. Just the right amount of faculty intervention and the right amount of faculty support, which is required to make an academic incubator successful. Atal Innovation Mission has already supported 69 incubators across the country, in cities big and small, tier 2, tier 3 cities, you name it. And we have supported more than 3,000 startups till date. We did a calculation recently in terms of the economic output that the government is getting. So for every rupee spent in AIC program, the government is getting around 17 rupees back in terms of the funding generated by the startups, in terms of the employment and the value that each and every startup generates. It's a huge return if you look at it from this lens. It's a pleasure to see incubators like AIC BIMTECH blossoming into a world-class incubator within some of the most relevant sectors like agri-tech, fintech, etc. I congratulate all the startups who are attending the event here. And I believe that this program will act as a catalyst for your growth from young entrepreneurs to young business ventures. You are startups who will solve some of the most pertinent problems of our country. We support you and we wish you all the very best in the coming endeavors of ours to make our startup ecosystem reach its apex globally together. Without further ado, I would like to pass on the dais to the AIC BIMTECH team. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for such an inspiring words. I'm certain that our attendees must have received unparalleled insights. Now, moving ahead with the event, I would now like to invite our keynote speaker, Ms. Chaitanya Subinam, Managing Partner, IDFC First Bank. Mr. Chaitanya is graduated from IIT Madras and XLRI Jamshedpur, has immense passion for fostering growth of startups and guiding founders to success. Such as having 15-year experience in finance and built several verticals for leading banks in India. Currently, he is leading IDFC First Bank startup banking team in North and Eastern region. Over to you, sir.
Hi, good morning, everyone. First of all, it's incredible work that you are all doing. Thanks to AIC BIMTECH, Atal Incubation Center, Startup India. I know it's really heartening to see the kind of work and the ecosystems that all of you are building. Frankly speaking, never in history of India there has been a better moment for an entrepreneur to build a company than now. The technology is helping, the ecosystem is helping, and most importantly, the governments of the day are helping at every level. It's that kind of climate that we are in, where it's kind of what a Renaissance period of Italy in 16th century was. Currently, we are going through that period. So I would like to take some time to also introduce to you how banks or how financial institutions are trying to build things so that young entrepreneurs like you can really grow. Can I have the slideshow? Can you?
Yes, sir. I'll be sharing the same.
Sure.
So I hope it is visible now.
Yeah, it is. So yeah, we can move to the next slide. Yeah. So one thing that distinguishes today, even 4 years back, when all of us started noticing startup growth, is I'm sure many of you must be from non-metro regions. No more the facilities required to grow a startup are available only in the metros. So we firmly believe that the future unicorns and great startups that innovate and solve future problems come from any of these 85,000 registered startups. And I'm sure there are many more startups that are solving the problems which I have not registered also. So it's no more the startup story is confined to this unicorns or metros, right? So our mission is to make all the growth enablers available across India, and we believe a large our institution with scale and with branches. We currently have about 1,000 plus branches, and most of them are even in villages. So with that kind of reach, we think we are in a better position. So we thought, why not serve the startup ecosystem with that branch network? Yeah, next slide. So one thought I would like to leave you, is when you think of any bank, not necessarily IDFC Bank or any bank, just don't confine your discussions to only banking. We believe, I know you entrepreneurs, out of our interaction with, we currently support around 5,000 plus startups. And out of all those interactions, we have crystallized the needs of a founder into 3 categories. Firstly, you have the banking needs, of course. That's where our discussions typically start. And then we realize you also have business needs, apart from the banking needs. By business needs, we mean you quickly need to set up your website, you need to reach out to new customers, marketing, accounts, legal, all the stuff that needs, that is needed to keep a business going. So you have business needs, and also as a founder, you have founder needs, which are very much different from the business needs, in the sense, as a founder, you need to network. As a founder, you need to find your mentors. As a founder, you need to get the right guidance at the right time, access to the investors. So just whenever you interact with any banker, and especially IDFC Bank, don't confine your discussions to banking needs. We are here to support all of your needs. That's where a large institution can help you. So let's see how we are supporting 5,000 plus startups in many of these needs beyond banking. Next slide. Can you go to next slide? Yeah. Even in banking, of course, we do realize that at an early stage, your banking needs will be different, and at a growth stage, your banking needs will be different. So we have curated our banking products to these 2 life stages, and at a late stage, of course, you will be more or less like a large corporate. At an early stage, we offer a credit card, which is very vital for you to make your Google payments, Facebook payments, with all sorts of payment requirements. And we handhold early stage founders to growth. And at a growth stage, this is where typically you would be requiring your APIs. I see some of the participants here are from fintech. Some of the participants are from health tech, ed tech. So all of you would require lots of APIs from banks. For your penny drop APIs, your payment APIs, collection APIs, your virtual escrows, etc. So we are here to support all of those needs. Plus, you need a credit line. That's the basic ask of most of the startups that come to us. So we understand at an early stage as a founder, you would not be you would be pre-profit, right? Typically, a startup takes 4 or 5 years to make profits. So we have come up with a working capital program that caters to even pre-profit company needs. Next slide. Next. So what we have come up with is for a growth stage company that raised about 10 crore. We are open to funding the working capital up to 5 crore, up to it can be extendable till 10 crore. And this is without any collateral. We know that the company will be loss making, so we are we have expertise in evaluating even loss making startups. This is a very simple program, and the credit line will be disbursed in a couple of weeks. So just feel free to approach any of us for your working capital needs. Next slide. Yeah, but as I promised, our interaction should be much beyond banking. Banking support we are happy to be give, but we thought what else we can do for the startup ecosystem, and this is where I would encourage all of you to think beyond banking. So, for example, first thing we thought was as a large corporate, when I travel, I get corporate travel rates for all my hotels, for all the travel expenses, last minute cancellations. So we thought, why should it be a privilege of only a large corporate? So we have tied up with Yatra. So we are extending all the travel. Most of you will be traveling for for various purposes. Just feel free. You can Google IDFC Beyond Banking offers. We tied up with Yatra to get all of those. Again, all of you must be working out of co-working spaces. If a large organization like us approaches any of these co-working space, we get substantially discounted rates. So again, our thought was, why should it be restricted to a large corporate like us? So we negotiated with many co-working spaces, companies like WeWorks, Office, MyHQ, so many of them, and we are getting up to 33% discount on co-working space. So at an early stage where most of you have raised 1 crore, 2 crore, we believe saving every rupee matters. So again, most of the I see some of them are DTC companies in the incubation cohort. Feel free, if you are using Shopify, if you are an IDFC customer, we have bargained, we have negotiated with Shopify, and we are getting discount for you on website. Again, AWS discounts. So about 50 tie-ups that can save every rupee of yours. It's important that you save all of your money for building your core product. That's where your money should go, not the allied costs, non-core ones like co-working spaces, travel, HR softwares, or tally softwares. All of them, we try to save money for you. Again, at an early stage, we understand, apart from money, another critical resource for you is time. All of you must be having a small team. Typically, it will be a founding member team without too much people in support functions. So one thing that we thought we should do as a large organization is save all your bandwidth, management bandwidth, from non-core time spent. So we are tying up with many co-working, many CFO services, shared CFO services and legal firms. If you have a small document to be run past through a legal firm, or if you have GST filings in the very initial phase, we are here to support you at a discounted rate or at free of cost. So approach us for saving your bandwidth. Again, as a bank, we thought first 3 years you should really get lots of support from banking, and we should not touch your account for any expenses. So our account for first 3 years is nil maintenance. Not even a rupee will be deducted. No one will ask you to maintain any minimum charges, and even things that cost bank money like IMPS are given for free to support the startups. So at an early stage, these are quite critical supports. Let's move on to next slide. Yeah. Now, some of you will soon be graduating into growth stage. This stage, it will not take much time to move from early stage to growth stage. Here, I would encourage all of you to think again beyond banking and ask this question to your banker: how can you help me grow? right? That's the bank is an organization with lots of coverage, lots of leverage. We have business customers, we have individual customers. Somewhere the synergies can be put together. I will just give a couple of examples. For example, some of you are building B2B businesses. It would be incredible if you can leverage on banks' business clients and let banks' business clients know your offerings. Immediately, that will give you spike in your sales without spending too much on marketing. On B2C side, again, a brand like, just to give an example, a biryani brand, if they can access banks' credit card customers, their sales will go up. So there are so many things that as a startup you can take advantage of with a large organization. Think slightly creatively, and this can potentially grow you multifold without burning your cash. We are again very much open to introducing you to investors. We have tied up with lots of angel funds, like Startup India is doing, like Incubation, Atal Incubation Center is doing. We also have our own tie-ups, and not necessarily the investor tie-ups. Every month we organize events for startups to connect to investors. Just think of this like an offline version of Shark Tank. Every month we organize them for many of our clients. These are exclusive events. So you will get really quality time with most of our investor partners. Also on the media side, I know wherever a growth story is really solving a very critical problem, and the growth story is fascinating, we have partnered with many media houses. Would love to suggest some of your growth stories to be aired on those platforms. Next slide. Yeah. So those are your business needs. But as a founder, one thing that IDFC thought we should really help you is networking and mentoring. Of course, fundraising at the end of this program. So we launched a program called Leap to Unicorn. Leap to Unicorn, and some of you are watching CNBC every day. You must be seeing Leap to Unicorn popping on your screens. Or if you're reading Money Control regularly, you must be seeing a link to Leap to Unicorn. So Leap to Unicorn is, we try to form a cohort of about 400 startups, probably the largest in India. And the idea behind this is getting early stage startups a chance to network with people who have built it. For example, some of the fintech founders here. If at an early stage they get an opportunity to sit with Mabel of Bank Open and get mentorship or get networking, that would be of great help because you will not make the same mistakes that Mabel did. Or some of the D2C startups, if you can sit with Ghazal Alag and get to learn from her experiences, get her mentoring and networking, so that will be great help for you. So with this, we are trying to bring most of the unicorn founders or the VCs, not just because they are unicorn or VCs, because they have seen hundreds of startups or they have built something on their own. And this program is a 9-month program. The applications are going on. You can just Google Leap to Unicorn. You will get a Money Control link. Feel free to apply there. And if selected, you will get all these mentoring and networking opportunities. At the end of this, some of the growth stories will be aired on CNBC and Tax program, and there will be an investment raising session at the end of 6 months. So this will be a great opportunity. Just want to leave you with one thought. Just when you approach a bank like us, think beyond banking. We ask ourselves this question constantly: how we can help startups grow, and how we can make sure a founder has better chances of success. Ask the same question yourself: how I can leverage on bank to become successful. That is our mission, and I'm sure most of you will really write great stories for history books. Thanks. All the best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for such an energizing words and for providing insights on how banks, especially IDFC First Bank, is supporting the startup ecosystem. So, without any further delay, there could not have been any better way to kick off Connect 2023, the event for which we all are here. So, let's begin with the session. There are two parallel sessions going to take place. I repeat, there are two parallel sessions going to take place. One, under the title Betting on the Jockey, Not on the Horse. This session will talk about the visionary leadership that pushes for profound change and strive to achieve the same by bringing clear goal and strategic plan into action. It will enable you to delve deeply into what attracts investors when investing in a startup based on management team rather than the ideas while evaluating them, which will be moderated by Mr. Karan from Team AIC BIMTECH. And the other parallel session, which is going to take place under the title Two Voices, India and Bharat, to shed light on the operational market and customer as well as societal challenges and prospects of the startups driver of urban as well as rural India, which will be moderated by Mr. Shreyash from Team AIC BIMTECH. For that session, you have been provided with the link on the chat box. You can check from there and join that link for joining that respective session. So thank you everyone for joining today. I now request both the moderators to take us through the panel discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sakshi, for the introduction. Good morning, everyone, and a very warm welcome to all of you to the first session of Connect 2023, that is Investor Diary Betting on the Jockey, Not on the Horse. Also, I would like to mention once again to the audience that we also have another parallel session running on the topic of Two Voices, India and Bharat. So the link for the session is already mentioned in the chat box. Audience members can join the session as per their choice. We'll wait for 2 minutes and then we'll start. I would
Yes,
also like
sir.
to mention that we are also streaming the session live on YouTube. So the audience members feel free to share the link on your social media channels as well. Thank you.
Current it seems because of the background image, my photo is not coming clearly out here.
Okay, sir, just give me a sec.
I'll make sure it happens correctly.
Sure.
So now I believe it must be okay. Okay. So actually, I have removed your background.
Do you
Yeah.
want me to rejoin again?
No, it's okay. What you can do right now is you can manually remove your background to basic normal camera.
Let me.
That will be, yeah. Meanwhile, I'll be adding Niharika ma'am as well. Yeah, that will be perfect.
All right.
Cool.
So I'm from home.
Yeah, I think
Welcome,
ma'am is
sir.
also here.
Welcome. Yeah. So it must be because of the
Good morning.
background.
Would be.
Okay. Over to you, Karan sir.
Yeah. So I would like to take this opportunity to invite our panelists for today's session. Our first panelist for today's session is Mr. Vikas Gupta. He is the co-founder and director of BIMTECH Capital. BIMTECH Capital is an AI-powered human-assisted platform that uses its proprietary technologically advanced systems and processes to create an inclusive value creation and amplifies wealth for investors and founders. He is also the partner and investor at Union Ventures, promoter at Finlords, and managing partner and director of GoTechWaste Private Limited. In his journey of more than 2 decades, he has worked with various big companies like Tech Mahindra and HCL and various startups. Due to his remarkable journey so far, he has a deep understanding about how a startup works and grows. Thank you, sir, for being here today.
So I just want to add a few things before
Yes,
you
sir.
go on. Okay, so I've been a serial entrepreneur myself and a seasoned investor as well. Okay, in the startups, and this Whale Tank is my platform, which works for which I work currently. All right.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Now I would like to move on to our next panelist for today's session, Ms. Niharika Rajiv. She is a partner with Incubate Angel Network. Incubate Angel Network is building a sustainability-led startup ecosystem with a strong inclination towards encouraging women entrepreneurs and women investors. And they are also helping creating a global peer economy of women entrepreneurs. We also believe that when more women-led startups scale up, succeed and raise capital, a larger number of women will be empowered to take up entrepreneurship and expand into their ventures. She has also been an angel investor and crypto investor since 2015 and holds investments in X Prize winning Leaf wearables and Leaf earphones, and also in a stealth tech firm. For the last 14 years, she has an experience across industries such as tech management consulting, media, financial services, and healthcare. Thank you, ma'am, for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me over. I'm very, very excited to be part of the session with Vikas. And thank you for doing this for everyone, and also streaming it live so folks who can't join us can see it from YouTube. So thanks. Looking forward to the session.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. So I think our third panelist will be here soon due to some technical glitches. So I think we'll be starting in a minute.
Sure.
So I think before he joins, we can begin the session. And now I would like to also request our audience to add their queries in the chat box. There's question and answer session box in the below, so they can take. We'll take them up at the end of the session.
Currently, you're on mute.
Mute.
I would like to begin with Vikas Gupta, sir. Sir, so the title of the session, that is betting on the jockey, not on the horse, which is a very famous proverb in the game of horse racing. I would like to request you to put a light on these terms in the perspective of an investor and in the perspective of a startup ecosystem, entrepreneurial ecosystem, how we can relate to this term in today's times in our startups.
Right. So the term betting on the jockey, not on the horse. Okay. So when you look upon the entrepreneurial system, okay, or a founder is essentially. So whichever startup or a company you talk about, the vision always comes from the founders, right? They have certain vision, and this vision cannot be executed by someone else. He can build a team, he can manage people, he can onboard investors, he can brought in as many people he want to bring in. But at the end of the day, he will be the guiding light who will be guiding where the startup should go, how big is the market, how to serve, what not to serve, and he will be continuously keeping building the strategy. Okay. So in that respect, when as an investor we look upon the founder's first quality as a visionary, like how big he thinks. Is he able to execute that? Okay. At the same time, if you look upon, it's not only about the vision. At the same time, anyone who launches a business or a product, he knows where he want to go. Okay. So as an investor, we always prefer the founders who are visionary in nature. And if you take an example of even Steve Jobs, who was asked to leave Apple, okay, and he rejoined because the vision was created by him, not by investors or some other people. Similarly, if you talk about an Indian context, Makan.com, Rahul Yadav was there. He was out from Makan and Makan is nowhere today. And it's not only these examples, there are numerous other examples. And I'm not saying it only works in that way. Maybe certain percentage, it may not work as well. Okay. Because founders also fail and there's nothing wrong in failing. Okay. What the founder needs is they can fail 100 times. That is the best thing because they need only one success to move forward. And a founder, and in case like the title as per betting on the jockey, okay. So when you are betting on the founder, even if the company is not doing well, he has a vision to create something else or bring something else. But investors cannot. So why it becomes so important for us is like it's totally entrepreneur. It's a people-driven thing where the founder himself has or the co-founder or the entrepreneur himself has a lot of capability which he carries within himself. And even in my background, if you talk about today, I work on like I'm a co-founder and a director at Whale Tank, and I launched more than 4 startups myself. Never went back to job, lived all the life through whatever. And we operate as a VC today, and we invest in the startup. I invest personally in the startup. So this is something which any investors looks for, and futuristic circumstances we deal with as per the situations. So this is what is my take on, and I encourage all the entrepreneurs and the startup founders out here to really create a vision which can be bought by us or the investors, I would say, because you are the only people who can execute it, or who can execute it better, I would say. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Also, I believe that I think Niharika ma'am would also agree with this. To moving on to Niharika ma'am, this sentence betting on the jockey, not on the horse, it becomes even more relevant when we consider it in reference to the early stage startups. Because in those cases, we don't have too much to evaluate. There is just an idea, there is just a founder, and I think in that case, we do have to focus on what founder has been doing and what his background, what his strengths. So what do you think, what do you notice in an founder? What are the must-have qualities that a early stage founder should have that investors look for?
Yeah, sure. No, I think Karan, you're absolutely right. Very early on, it's definitely even more so about the founder than anyone else because जब आपका business बस start हुआ है, at that point in time, it is that individual who's driving the business, right? And hence the jockey, not the horse. And in that situation, as an angel investor, I think also, Vikas will agree with me. Every angel also has their own preference, right? आपको किस type के startup में invest करना है. So depending on that, those are, even in a founder, everybody looks for certain things which are very particular to the angel investor. But I think across the board, some similarities will be that, you are always looking for a resilient person. See, skills, a lot of time hum kehte hain ki we're building as you're building the company and you're thinking at the same time, so it's almost like building a bridge and walking on it, right? So it's not possible to be able to foresee everything. What you can foresee is the person who's doing it, do they have the merit in terms of maybe expertise. So if somebody comes from that industry background, usually that's helpful. A lot of the angel investors prefer that. If you have worked prior, is it relevant? And even if you've not worked, if you're a student such as yourself, at BIMTECH or any of the other institutes and getting into entrepreneurship, then we try to understand your life journey. Some experiences must have happened. Who are you as an individual? Do you have resilience? एक होता है हिम्मत, एक होता है मुशक्कत. Can you keep going on and on, right? So do you have the courage and do you have the willpower to continue? Because we've seen, as in startups, as in life, there are ups and downs. External variables like last 2-3 years, worldwide was not anything any VC could have ever thought. Anybody, right? So no business, no projection accounted for 2 years of pandemic, right? And new businesses came out of it, right? So what happened? The same people who started off with 10 assumptions changed because the environment changed. But what was the difference between those who couldn't make it and the ones who could make it was willpower and resilience. So for me, at least as an angel investor, I try to understand your journey before you started a startup, why you're doing what you're doing, and understand if you have those key components. Also, another very important thing for me, I think, is someone who's transparent. तो हम सबके journey में कोई ना कोई problem आएगी. When you take an angel investor on or a VC on, the assumption is please be transparent. No one's expecting you to figure everything out. We've also not figured everything out. But the idea is that if you have the help and the support system, are you as a founder transparent enough to ask for help? So you should not be आपको ये नहीं लगना चाहिए कि मुझे इस चीज का जवाब नहीं पता तो इसका मतलब I'm missing on something. Raise your hand and say I don't know it, but I'm willing to learn and I want to learn. And if you could connect me with this is where I need help. That's when an angel really likes it or an investor really likes it, because I feel there's value add outside of my money. Money in this current ecosystem is fairly easy to raise, right? I mean, I'm sure maybe in some of your sessions you've already talked about, but the government is working consistently across to help startups, right? So Startup India Fund hai aapka, which is non-collateralized lending, incubation centers such as yourself, who are there to help for grants. And then of course there are angels and VCs, but everybody comes with a different skill set. So why would you choose one over the other is dependent on unka value add. So I do like founders who ask me a question, कि आप पैसे के सिवा और क्या, what can you bring to the table, right? Because that makes me feel they're confident also, and they want to understand the value of the person they're bringing early on. So I think those are some of the things which are very important to me.
Definitely, ma'am. So I think I also agree with that. So coming back to Vikas, sir, as you already also said, that it is about the founder's vision, not the investor's vision, because founder has come with their idea, so they are the right people to do it. But we have also seen in recent news a lot of fallout incidents happening between investors and founders when the startup has reached a certain level of growth in the startup. So we have seen many examples of that. So, what do you think changes from that initial startup idea stage to the growth stage that the same investor who has been investing in that founder changes their perspective on founders in those few years? What has your experience been? You have been a serial entrepreneur as well as an investor, so you have seen both the sides of the spectrum. So, what do you think of these situations?
Look, Karan and everyone else, okay, look, conflicts are always natural. And it is for the good, I would say, okay. But how important it is, or at the same time, somebody is ready to give up his ego and move on, that is important. Even we work with co-founders today. We do fight, we stick with it, but at the end of the day, what we say is, okay, 3 महीने के लिए तुम्हारा प्लान एग्जीक्यूट करते थे, वो फेल हुआ तो हम मेरा प्लान एग्जीक्यूट करेंगे. 3 months is nothing on a startup journey, frankly speaking. Nothing will happen in 3 months, okay? Even when you reach from one stage to second stage, second to third stage, it's a long journey. Startup is not a 2 years game, it's a 3 years game. It's a 5 years, 10 years, 20 years game for the people. Okay. As a founder myself, I'm into it for my lifetime actually. Okay. So when it comes to conflict happens, there are 2 reasons. When the breach of trust happens sometimes. Okay. So in case of breach of trust, nobody can save those startups. Doesn't matter whether the breach of trust is from the investor side or it is from the founder side. Okay. And if you talk about any business relationship, I've been into sales for over 20 years, and I have given more than 500 founders until now on sales. Okay. So I only tell them one thing: it's a relationship. That's all. If you build relationship, sales will automatically happen. If there is no relationship, sales will not happen. So when it comes to sales, even between entrepreneur and investor also, it's a relationship which matters. How much the one trust the other one. Okay. हम एक दूसरे को कितना विश्वास करते हैं. At the same time, even if you talk about the family, the large families or the family-run businesses in India, there also breakout happens, but we don't talk about that. We only talk about कि startup और investors के बीच में पंगा हो रहा है या फिर वहां पे लोग अलग हो रहे हैं. We never talk about the family broke out or family are dividing the businesses कि नहीं तुम ये manage करो हम ये manage करेंगे. Not because they can't work together. They can work together, but somewhere they feel that it's your business and this is my business, and we will take individually because our mentality doesn't match. And there is nothing wrong in that. Everyone has their own individualism, I would say. And at the same time, when you look upon the investor side, there are a lot of, as an investor, even myself, I may be able to guide a founder into certain direction. And we do often, okay? We do often and tell them multiple strategies, okay? But we are so happy and lucky that our founders always ready to test it at least. May not be immediately, at least down the line, they will test it out based on the circumstances and based on the scenarios. And of course, our expert team or the people with whom we work with, doesn't matter which the market is, whether it is US or India or Europe or Middle East. Okay. So we worked separately for all the markets, and we guide them, and there are a few things which works out. There are a few things which doesn't work out. So again, coming back to there's nothing wrong in failing, essentially, because you just need one success to move forward and forward and forward. All right. So this is what my take is on this. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Rightly said, sir. I think it is very right to say that founders and investors come together as a family to nurture the startup. For a founder, the startup is his baby, her baby. So I think it is very true to say, and I think they would both come together and work out their fallouts to for the growth of the startup conclusively. So coming back to ma'am also, I think ma'am, the EAM, your firm, Incubation
Karan
Network.
sir, Karan sir.
Yes.
Just before going to ma'am, I would like to add Kaushik Shekhar to the spotlight as well because he's here. Let's welcome him to the discussion as well. Welcome, Kaushik.
Thank you so much. Sorry that there were some issues with my.
Welcome, sir. Welcome. So I would also like to introduce our third panelist for the session, Mr. Kaushik Shekhar, the co-founder of Enlighten VC, which is an early stage venture capital company. He has been a serial entrepreneur, angel investor, mentor on board for multiple startups, and his firm is currently framing a One India unified incubation and funding ecosystem through which is Asia's one of the largest startup events called Akriti. He has also been investing across domains and stages of the startup and loves to interact with young minds with great zeal for solving issues in entrepreneurship. Welcome, Kaushik sir, to our panel discussion. I would also come to Kaushik sir now. Sir, your firm supports enterprises and startups from idea stage to implementation stage, which is also why it is also called Two Eyes ecosystem. So I think what do you notice as an investor in a founder? And also, do these characteristics that you notice changes from idea stage entrepreneurs to the growth stage entrepreneurs? Are there different things that investors focus on when tackling with the idea stage entrepreneurs and growth stage entrepreneurs? Over to you, sir.
I mean, first of all, I would like to thank each one of you present here, and a special mention to both Vikas and as well as Marika who is present here. I mean, just listening to it, maybe I've joined a few minutes late, but it was nice listening to both of you. But I would tell you that 2I, that is idea to implementation, is nothing but hand-holding the startup, so the startup founders from the idea level to the implementation of the process. It's not just about investing and telling that this is my money, I'm putting it to you, and whatever may be it, I'm just having a term sheet where I just expect a return. It's not fair. I mean, what you need to do is you need to keep working with them at every point and frame as where there will be a, for every entrepreneur, so there will be a steep down to be increased. The graph is not going to be that far. But how are we going to make all these happen? As an expert, that I have seen my mentors doing a lot of things with the startups or the founders, their mentality, the framework. There are many things that you are today with. And as we know the market, we have a lot of new terminologies called as funding winters, recession, inflation. There are lots and lots of things which a business owner, and there is a difference between an entrepreneur and a business owner that everybody, I'm very sure, would be aware. What happens here is the old stage when you see beyond 2000s, there is something called as a business owner, and you may not find this term called as entrepreneur. There may be, but not business exposed. But what is the difference? A business owner takes a responsibility, accountability, or what else he has? No, I mean, he's just the same. When you see, Sir Ratan Tata ji or anyone who worked very tirelessly in bringing a product, it's not only a product, it becomes an identity for a whole country and the whole world. So today there are lots of entrepreneurs. When I say entrepreneurs, that's a fashionable statement. And what happens is many people when they come in, they see that I'm an entrepreneur. If you ask what is entrepreneurship, they think that yeah, I would be either taking my idea to a startup ecosystem, they get a grant, incubation center, they get a grant, or they take it to an investor and say that sir, this is completely deceptive idea. Why don't you take about 10 minutes to listen? I say I'm very happy, sir. Listen it. I would be completely happy to support you. But the backpack of the founder should know what exactly is the responsibility of the product and how to define it. So this is what that 2I works. 2I is nothing but your vision, right from your early stage of idea framing, which is just a single line. I would say that I'm an investment company. But what does this company does? What does this has a difference when you see to the other company? Everyone does investment. Everyone does investment advising, and everyone does the mentorship, incubation, on-board supporting, startup support. What is that difference? Or how are you going to support? I mean, there are lots of late stage ones. They invest on traction. But when we came in, our founders were very keen on investing on ideas, and then comes traction. So this is where we wanted to bring some difference and the analysis or your auto support, where you definitely get to know what is the current market you are in. Touching your idea to our portal, you get a complete validation report as what is that your domain is going to say to you. So this is what I wanted to be very cautious of with the entrepreneurs, that entrepreneurship is a very beautiful journey, and 2I is just hand-holding them and taking from idea to the implementation process. And there are lots of mentalities, lots of thought processes that changes. So those are to be seen. So we are very happy to take the challenges and invest and be with them in all these other parts of their journey. And that is what we mention as 2I.
Thank you, sir. I think that reiterates again our thought, one line of thought of importance of founders in the starting growth and journey. Again, I'll come back to Niharika, ma'am. So, ma'am, your firm, Incubate Angel Network, it has been focusing on empowering women investors and bringing them into the mainstream angel investing ecosystem as well as entrepreneurial ecosystem. You are supporting multiple startups which are women-led. In your opinion, do you think that there's a difference in the opinion and the mindset of investors when it comes to women entrepreneurs? Because we have not seen a lot of women entrepreneurs and a lot of women investors so far. So, what do you think? There's a different mindset, and it has been changing, or what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, sure. I think, Karan, unfortunately, the stats, speak for themselves. Only about 5% of, the funding goes to women entrepreneurs. So it's basically what happens is that for the amount of funding that's going to male entrepreneurs, when you see the proportion going to female entrepreneurs, it's less. And coming back to what we do at the Incubate Angel Network, the reason is because VCs, institutional VCs, say there are not enough startups led by women because they don't make it out of the pre-seed seed stage, right? It's a funnel. If you don't make class 1, you can't reach class 2, then you can't reach class 3, or so on. तो आप बोर्ड के एग्जाम में तो तभी बैठ पाएंगे, you will get a shot if you've cleared it till then. So you need that sort of extra support. And yes, women haven't. We've seen women in D2C. There are certain sectors, I will say, in which there are women entrepreneurs more as a proportion across sectors such as D2C and health tech. But then definitely sector, across sectors, there are very few women entrepreneurs and even women investors, right? In fact, our finance minister recently has, last year and mandated that you need to have an independent female director on the governing body of even public enterprises. And the reason for that is having diversity. It's, the reason is when you get diversity, and it is a fact, right? It's the way you look at things, it's different, and getting that different perspectives makes businesses smarter and better. Even the returns are better when there are female partners at VC firms. So that's just the numbers. And currently, though, in India, at least less than 2% of all angel investors are women. So it's very unfortunate. And angel investors in itself is a very small number in India. It's about less than, I think, 15,000 people in the country who are actually angel investing. I'm not counting family offices and such. So just imagine, what a small percentage that is. And while there is money, women have started making money. We see women in corporate jobs. I think last generation, we used to look up to, like an Indira Nui was a one-off example, right? Because she was a female reaching that level. But then now we see categorically across the corporate ladder women in very high positions, whether it's MDs of banks or CEOs of large organizations. So it's taken, I think, a generation. Now for the investors in unicorns, I'm definitely hopeful that we will, because of course, we've had the Naikas of the world. We've had Radhika Ghai with Shop Clues. There are quite a few names. I think Nykaa is that one. Of course, it's a great success story in D2C, but there are more who have been doing a lot of work. But what I'd like to say is that yes, there is a bias we've seen, and hence there's been a movement across the table, across all VC systems, whether it's XXO with by Vani Kola and Kalari Capital. They are doing something. You've seen Sequoia do Spark, right, for women specifically. So what is the reason all of them are doing that? Because they understand that those entrepreneurs can give them good results. This is not charity, right? So you're only doing it and you're investing in these entrepreneurs because they can give you good results and really good results, except they do need a little bit of extra support because the confidence or the background hasn't been there. And it's a subconscious bias. And I think across the table now we're working towards it as an ecosystem. So I'm very excited. I'm sure in the next 10 to 15 years we will definitely see the results of all the work that's being done now translate.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Carrying on the same thought, I think I would like to move to Vikas sir as well, because he has been in the ecosystem for a very long time and he has interacted with a lot of boards of startups, a lot of different kind of founders. So, sir, what can we do as our ecosystem enablers to increase the participation of women? Also, coming back to our title, betting on the jockey. So, when we say betting on the jockey, how can we make sure that we bet equally on the female side, on the women entrepreneur side as well? Your thoughts, sir?
So to everyone, I would say, look, 10 years back and today, there is a lot of difference. Okay, I meet a lot of enterprising women, a lot of women founders myself personally. Okay, and we invest also on women founders through our fund and through our company. And there are a lot of investors also on our Welltank.capital who are women, essentially. Okay. So this has been changing, and maybe the number does not state that 1 or 2%, whatever Ms. Niharika has said. But at the same time, that number is growing with exponentially, I would say. Okay. And when it comes to, even if you talk about as a society, our mindset has changed. There are a lot of it's I'll not say it's a purely a man-driven society or something like that. Okay, I would say even at our homes, it's a equal partners. Okay, and maybe people are not many of them does not take a corporate responsibility and remain wherever they want to be. But at the same time, even if you talk about my wife, she has been doing whatever personal stuff she is doing, and today she is an investor. Okay, she invests in the startups. So Niharika, even my wife invests in startups. Okay, on her personal name, by the way. Okay, so in that sense, that I think times has changed, and as an ecosystem, as a VC or as an investment platform, even we have changed a lot. We don't look everyone in the same eyes the way we used to look around 10 years or 15 years back. There is a shift. Okay, and at the same time, the various initiatives by government of India or by specific venture funds or some of the VC firms as well, okay, which focuses on the women-led startups. Okay, so those things are changing, and I'm sure like next 5 to 7 years are for women. I would say they can really reach at the peak.
I think rightly, because when there will be women investors, I think they'll be able to promote and relate and understand more about what a women founder will be going through and how they can help build the ecosystem.
And
Now,
to add on to another point, like I met with a couple of founders as well, where we have been investors, okay, and women founders I'm talking about, and they always used to come because we also need a woman investor in our panel, and it used to be so so exciting, to listen that, and somehow as a platform we make sure that it happens. Okay. So it's a really amazing feeling to be in a space today where the awareness is so much that even the founders are the women and investors are the women, and things are really moving forward.
There's equal participation from all the sides.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you, sir. Coming back again to Kaushik, sir. Sir, in the last few years, we have seen startups have become valuation creating exercises more than value creation exercises. When the startup ecosystem was starting up in India and as well anywhere it starts with the value creation. The founders are trying to solve a problem. They have an idea, they have a viable solution, and they are developing on it, and they are focused more on delivering value to the customers and solving the problem. But nowadays, we have seen the valuations are soaring sky high. So, as an investor, you have seen these kind of things. What are your thoughts on it, and what do you think it will be going towards further going on in the ecosystem?
I mean, I have two different thoughts on this. When you see from a value creation to a valuation prediction, I would say that only if there are values that you create, valuation automatically. It can be of any given domain and it can be of any given process. And the first or the foremost thing that the founder should look at is not about looking at 5-year plan saying that after 5 years, right, I have this much of valuation, a pre-money or a post-money that I'm going to create. But the thing is, where we are currently, or the stage where the startup ecosystem of India is currently working towards, is creating more of unicorns. And unicorns are nothing but a product which can serve purpose for more than one country. It's not only within India, it goes towards the globe. And that is what makes the plan. So what is the vision there? I mean, value creation is nothing but it's not the product that is going to serve only the country of India, the people of India. Even the other country can come down and ask, what exactly is the difference that you're creating? How are you able to make a lot of unicorns? Because ideas are so massive. I have seen the founders' ideas. It can be of a core agricultural process. I'm saying I have seen one in the recent times where I used to, very frequently travel to the northeast because there sorry about it there the process is such that all these are accumulated, all the products of whichever has been given from the agriculture or direct to the customer market, there are no different direct to customer apps. There will be one or two apps that collects all the product, and they serve as a D2C platform, and they serve as a platform between the agriculturalists or farmers and going to the each houses and the doorsteps. Why is that? Is because I wanted to know more on how you create a value which is going to serve the purpose of each of your next door steps. You don't go to the other part of the state, other part of the country, other part of the globe. When you have that particular problem to solve very next door, how are you going to do it? So if you can give an answer to it, ultimately your value creation is being taken care, ultimately your valuation is being taken care. That's one. But the other flip of the coin, I would say how the founders used to see this or the investors used to see this is a valuation part. Many of the early stage companies, they look at what is that your customers are going to be. When I say going to be, if it is a B2B, you can define it. When it is a B2C, you cannot define it. But what is that your vision is going to be? How much is the customer acquisition? How the acquisition plan is going to be? What are you going to do? But many founders doesn't have an answer for it because they look at only the problem statement and to make it as really something that is undefined. So what happens here is the thought process of an investor changes once after you see the product. Product will be so nice, but how are you going to take the vision towards your next few years is not clear. So I cannot, literally go as an investor or any one of my investor cannot go sit with a founder and each day they cannot categorize everything, saying that these are the customers or these are the revenue that you would be separating. These are not our, not only us, any investor for that matter. No mentor can teach it. It's a self process. And that self process will only come if you know what is your market, how are you going to reach each of the problems. Because my problem might be different from your problem, and your problem might be different from the cars and from the house. So how am I going to solve each problem with one particular product? That makes a lot of sense. So we see more of a value creation that takes care of the value, valuation process. That is what, as any investor, not only Enlighten or its Enlighten's investor, any investor would see. What value you create, your valuation would be taken.
Thank you, sir. I think it is very right that value creation and valuation both are interrelated. And basically, if you are creating value, your valuation will follow it. So it is very rightly. Now, I would also like to take few questions from the audience as well, because we are nearing to the end of the session. So there is one question that has come up. Don't you think an idea is as valuable as the founder executing it? I mean, what is the weightage if we can give to idea against the founders? I would like to go to Vikas sir first.
Right. So, look, when it comes to the idea and the person who is executing it, okay, idea, frankly speaking, everyone has an idea. 1.3 billion people, all those people have ideas, and many people have multiple ideas as well.
Very true, sir. Very true.
Right. Like any person can give me, like, even if you talk about our friend circle when we were young, सबको बस idea ही देते रहते थे. But no one was ready to play in the field.
Yeah.
जो गेम होता है ना, वो मैदान में खेला जाता है, राइट? ऑडियंस के बीच में नहीं. राइट? मैदान के बाहर तो सिर्फ ऑडियंस होती है, वो ज्ञान दे सकते हैं कि ऐसा करना चाहिए, ऐसा करना चाहिए, ये आइडिया वर्क करेगा, ये आइडिया वर्क करेगा. Okay, but on the pitch, only the batsmen understand what type of ball it is and how what type of shot has to be played. Okay, so in the similar context, when you talk about the idea and execution, it's very important that the person or the founder has both in it. If you only bring us the idea without execution plan and without execution capability, many of us may not agree with it at all. Doesn't matter what idea it is. Okay, and you can take a numerous examples even from the history where there was multiple ideas which started out. There are certain ideas which are before times, so there are certain ideas which are before after times, and they could not execute, the founders could not execute it. Okay, so the execution is, I would say, the more important thing. Even a smaller idea with a limited impact, with a high execution model, can really take the startup or a founder on a peak, actually. Okay, but when it comes to big idea without execution, it's zero, essentially. And as an investor, for us, that is one of the most important thing. And we continuously keep on checking. When we talk about the founders, we also talk about their background, what they did, what they did not do. And we also want to understand from their life experiences, how many times fails, how many times they have executed something, and what all things they have even accomplished. And why? Because the why has an answer for everything. So what in our earlier conversation, even Niharika talked about perseverance and those words. Okay, so that is why it is very important. Any idea will take time. It will take some time to mature as well. Sometimes even the market takes time to get mature. Okay, like I remember, like I started my journey in way back in 2002 after coming from the college. Okay, so 2005-6 में हमने बहुत मोबाइल ऐप बनाए हैं ब्लैकबेरी के ऊपर, 2005 से लेकर 2010 तक. बट उस समय मोबाइल एप्लीकेशन का जमाना नहीं था, क्योंकि सबके पास स्मार्टफोन होते ही नहीं थे. Even if you launch an app, it will fail. So there were a lot of ideas which failed just because the execution was not at the right time as well. So in the similar context, execution is the key. Even it's a management lesson being taught all across in the B schools. Okay, where the executives or the students are being taught about execution. And even me as an investor or as a seasoned investor as well as an entrepreneur myself, frankly speaking, I sometimes back I used to write in my LinkedIn, I execution expert myself, okay, because I know how to execute things, how to get things done, how to move forward, okay. So in that case, yes, uh, you can have 1.3 billion ideas, but maybe only thousands can be executed by the great people. Okay,
Yeah,
that's all my thought on it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. There's another question from the audience. So I would like to ask to Niharika, ma'am. Ma'am, someone has asked what are the investors' thought process in investing in companies when co-founders who are working in a pre-regulated market, for example, there's medical cannabis, or there could be some kind of legal tech or property tech, for example. So what do investors look for in such a case in the founders? Is there a background check? Do they need to have an experience in the industry or things like this?
So, Karan, if I understand the question correctly, you're saying that in certain industries, what is the founder check? Is that the question?
Yeah, if there are industries you are like pre-regulated already by government or
Niharika, it
some
is
kind
there
of
in the
private
question and
sector.
answer as well, if you want
Yeah.
to. Yeah.
Yeah. No, so because you're free, why don't you? I mean, after I'll add a couple of sentences, you please take it forward as well. But see, in any industry, first of all, there is always, before anyone gets into anything, there's due diligence. Okay, on a founder as well as the organization, wherever it is, right? Regulation or not, I mean, sometimes categories have been created, they may or may not be regulated, there may or not be any reference points, but even in that situation, something which is a hygiene factor is called a due diligence. Now, due diligence is also on the founder, of course. You want to say, like, to give you an example, right? Someone says, prior to this, I worked or I went to school ABC places. You want to even check that, right? Because that's where you're putting your money. So that's where your network helps. You will go in and do some basic checks, and of course, if it's when the larger VCs come in, they of course have very, very intensive due diligence checks on, MISs and things like that, and the business. So आपने claim किया है कि आपका business, I don't know, is making 10 lakh rupees a month. How do I know it is making 10 lakh rupees a month? It's your word, right? So those due diligences and checks are kept. And I think even in pre-regulated markets, I would really have to give, call out to the government. I think they have done a fab job of making sure that almost everything now, post demonetization and the digitization, it's become very easy. It's very hard to move things around and like take people for a ride. It was very possible 10-15 years
Yeah,
back. I was not very active, but I will tell you, even in 2015 when I started investing, it was not very easy to do due diligence. It was not. Okay, people would say things, and now with the cash components going down, and whether it is even social media for that matter, right? You claim you're from one place but you're not. All these things can be checked. You said you were there, you're not. So I just feel now it's not a situation where regulations are not help, but it's again back to betting on the jockey and not the horse. You're going to gauge the person, and if consistent discrepancies come out in a due diligence with a founder, then that's a red flag. No investor will then invest, and I will also sort of say that just be honest with whatever you're doing and whatever you've done, because if it does spread in the investor community, it just is bad blood, because investors do check in with each other, right? That, oh, have you come across this deal? Have you come across this founder in the same sectors? And I'm sure Vikas and Kaushik can also speak to it. The investing community is very small, you know,
Absolutely.
so everybody knows everybody or will know of someone who knows somebody else. So from that perspective, I don't think that's a concern. I would rather tell the founder, please be honest, please be transparent with every single thing, and all of us are human beings and understand that there are circumstances, there are situations where things have to be done a certain way or were done because of a certain circumstance. But being transparent, back to what I said in the beginning, what is important in a founder is transparency. So I think that I'll sort of stick to that.
So I would also like to Kaushik sir and Vikas sir if you would like to add something to this.
Well, yes, what Niharika told is 100% right. I mean, the basic steps has to be met. Whatever you are, that doesn't matter. I mean, as a founder, you may even say that my current FI's valuation is this, the previous FI's valuation is this. How, as an investor, you would be able to assess that is very simple. It's only through data. So, as a community, what we first go ahead is not about what is the financial due diligence are or what is your financials. It's all about the second stage. What normally we used to find out is we go to a community, we first check like, is that the first time that the founder is trying to raise funds or has he or she has raised fund in the past? So what happens is, yes, it can even be a grant. You would not give a grant as a government ecosystem or any of those, would not give a grant without a proper record, right? Even the smallest of the trust that you have, it might create a huge impact on the investment cycle itself. So that way, I would say that if there is anything in the record that you could deliver, definitely investors would be ready to go ahead, and that helps by the due diligence also.
Thank you, sir. I think we are also close. So Vikas sir can add the final points.
So Karan, to add on to this similar lines, the unregulated and regulated market. Okay, we do a lot of medtech investments. Okay.
Yes, yes.
And the clinical trials, the government approvals, there are must actually before we invest into. Okay, sometimes the startups comes where the clinical trials has not completed, but we take the risk as the investor. Okay, and we don't know whether those clinical trials will be approved by the government or not.
Yeah,
that is a risk which is there even with other startups. Okay.
Yeah.
At the same time, when it comes to pre-regulated market, we as an investor, we always check it out. Well, what happened to the earlier scenarios as well. This is not the only pre-regulated. There are a lot of things which were pre-regulated 10 years back, or 5 years back, or 15 years back. So step by step, and of course, I work with a lot of government agencies like STPI, METI, IHUBs, okay, and I have people, my connects well connected in MHAs and all MCA, or like all these government organizations, I would say. Okay, so for me, getting the information is a one call away. That's all. But as an investor, we do check it out.
Yeah,
we don't leave it to the funds alone. Okay.
Thank you so much, sir, for adding final points. I think we are nearing the end of the session. So I hope that the session has provided the listeners with very, very useful nuggets of experiences from all of our panelists today. And I hope they will be taking away some of these with them in the future journey of their startups. I would also thank our session partner, which is Greater Noida Institute of Technology, for helping us arrange this session. I think this is the end of the session. So I would just like to request all the audience members for turning on their cameras for a very few seconds, so we can take a group screenshot and then we'll end the session. Everyone, please turn on their camera.
Also, can we have a 3 second of smile, since we do not have a online photographer? So I'll be taking the screenshots. Just requesting all of you to smile for 3 seconds so that I can take a screenshot.
Why 3 seconds? It should be 1 minute.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. I think as Vikas sir has mentioned in the beginning about the Steve Jobs and his story, so I would just like to end with a very famous quote from him, which says that, to me, ideas are worth nothing unless executed. They are just a multiplier. Execution is worth millions. So I think on this note, we'll like to end this session today. And thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, ma'am, for being here today. And anyone who would like to have their questions answered or would like to connect with them in the future, we have their LinkedIn profiles and we have their details on our website, events.aicbimtech.com. You can go there, you can check it out. We also have similar sessions running tomorrow as well. You can find the details there. So thank you everyone for being here. Thank you all the participants. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Harika. Thanks,
Thank you, ma'am.
Let's connect again. Okay. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.